Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to dial in a Mesa Boogie style amplifier, the 2C Plus, the Mark III, the Mark IV, etc. I'm going to be using the Synergy 2CP module here because I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to be spending several $1,000s on a 45-year-old amplifier to get this kind of tone, especially not in this day and age. So the main reason I think people have such a hard time in dialing in these amplifiers is because of the misnomer that, oh, let me just set my amplifier, everything at noon. You know, if it's a good amplifier, it'll sound good at noon type of an idea, and this is how it sounds. The problem with the Mesa Boogie style circuitry is it's not a good amplifier, it is a legendary amplifier. And with legendary amplifiers, you need to understand how they work to get the tones that you want. So the reason that it sounds like this as opposed to other amps is, most other amplifiers have their preamp circuitry before the EQ stack. But with Mesa Boogie's Mark series, the EQ stack is before the preamp. What this means in layman's terms is that these EQ settings kind of affect the preamp like a EQ pedal in front of your amp would, to a degree. So what you want to do is you want to take your treble, goose that, cut out the mids, cut out your bass, presence to taste. That is the go-to setting I have for every Mark style amplifier when it comes to the EQ stack. Now the volume 1 in the lead drive, think of your volume 1 as you would your level or balance on an overdrive pedal, so you're going to want to goose that. And then the lead drive is essentially your level, so I kind of keep that one, sorry, that's essentially your drive, so I kind of keep that one around 7 o'clock. So here's what that setting sounds like. Now that sounds good and we have a bunch of bite to it, but there's practically no low end, which is why I decided to put in 5-band EQs with these amplifiers so you can tone sculpt even further and make it sound not only like another amplifier but even better. So the one drawback of the 2CP module here is that this 5-band is not very organic. It does not sound as transparent, for lack of a better word, as the originals did. So you can't get away with extreme settings like the classic famous 5V symbol here. This just sounds terrible in my opinion. And if you don't have tinnitus, it sounds terrible to you as well. So the way I dial this in is I start with a scooping of the 750 range just because metalhead, and then said I will boost up this frequency and this frequency, and I will push down the 6600 a little bit to tame some of that high end. Oh, and a brief side note. When I first demoed this model, I was having an issue with it squealing on me, and I thought it may have been a defect or something of that like, but it would go away whenever I would have my noise gate turned on. This is the preamp now, and this is with a bunch of gain pushing it. This is with some low-end no-brand Chinese pickups as well, so... I figured out what was causing the squealing, and it's because I didn't have the module screwed in tight enough. Now, I had it tightened in tight, you know, by fingers, but I then took a screwdriver and actually cranked it in, and now it's making full connection to the board, and it's been this quiet ever since. And this is without my noise gate. Here it is with it. Perfectly works fine, perfectly quiet. So back to how to dial this in. So these are kind of my go-to settings whenever I'm trying out a Mark Series amp, and I'll go to taste from here. So since this guitar has a good amount of output and is a bit muddy, I will bring this back a hair, bring up the mids a little bit, maybe bring back the treble some, and now we have this. it's dialed in pretty well, I'd say, but you're still saying that you want a bit more low end out of it, or it just has a little bit too much kind of mid honk to it, well, get a $60 Boss GE7 EQ pedal, throw it in the effects loop, and then this is what you can do with that tone. So without the EQ in the loop, with it. Now, a little trick I learned how to do with this module to get it closer to sounding like a 2C++ is you take another EQ pedal. In this example, I'm using an old MXR 6-band. You boost the mid-range, you cut a little bit of the low end, and you put it in front of the amplifier, and you run it like you would an overdrive, and it essentially does the same thing the 2C++ mod did, which was add more compression and more input gain. So without it, with it. And that to me is kind of my favorite tone to dial in with this amplifier, give or take what I do with the GE7 just to adjust it to the room. Now really quick, I will go over the lead bright and the lead shift. The lead bright, as the name suggests, adds in a bit more brightness to it. It kind of will try and make your pickup a little bit less low-end based. Adds maybe a little bit more of the treble filter, if we're being honest with you. So here's how that sounds. This is with the 6-band turned back to off, by the way. Now the lead shift, the best way I could describe it in layman's terms, because I really don't know what it's doing in the circuitry, so I'm just going off by ear, but it adds more compression, it adds a bit more of the lead drive kind of gain, and it just overall makes it feel like you're driving the amplifier with an EMG pickup even if you are not using one. So here it is with that. Now, as you can hear, it gets kind of close to how it sounds with the 6-band boosting it. So let's see if we can match that tone really quick here. doesn't sound too bad, but again, I prefer how the 6-band sounds. But now, one thing I've heard people say is, oh, I want to be able to use channel 1 of the module and also channel 2 at the same time. I mean, you're using a Synergy module platform, you're going to have other modules, you could easily just have one designated for cleans, but whatever, I'll try and show you how to dial in a tone that works for both tones. So, at the current moment, this is what your channel 1 sounds like. Because you are cranking the volume 1, which is your gain for that channel, it's going to be obviously very loud and very overdriven. So the way I fix this is bring this back to like right around here. Right about there. Now unfortunately the EQ stack is shared, so I'm going to preference the EQ stack to the lead channel just because. But here is what the channel 1 sounds like now. This is with the GE7 still in the loop. That's with the bright switch on channel 1 turned on. And in comparison, here it is with the Randall clean module. Not too bad, but obviously we're going to be affecting the lead channel since we've taken that volume 1 and driven it so far back. So that's what that sounds currently. But if you remember, the lead shift and the lead bright turned on add a little bit more gain to that channel, so if we just bring this up a little bit. That doesn't sound too bad, I would say. But I have another module, and I don't really even play clean that often, so I'm going to stick with using, really this thing is just a 1-channel module.